Good morning, everyone. It is a great honor and privilege to me to speak in front of such expertise here. I thank Sir for such opportunity to me. Starting with my topic, directed energy is nowadays seen in every home. As science and technology is advancing in such rapid manner, it has nowhere confined to only scientific labs, high research laboratories. It is now seen in every home and it is an integral part of day-to-day living of humans. Along with these, they have come in advanced gadgets like in lasers, microwave applications, and UV radiation-based devices. However, along with these innovations comes a great potential risk to human eye also in the form of eye injuries. When these occurs only when these gadgets are mishandled or misused. In this presentation, I'll be covering the most common uses, most common causes of such domestic injuries, the most target population, the presentation of patient, and a few case illustrations. As I mentioned, the first target population is children, and the most common source nowadays seen is laser toys and laser pointers. The other common causes seen are mishandling of optical aids like magnifying glass and other careless handling of microwaves at home by the superheated fluids of the dishes. A rare cause which saw a spike in COVID era was the use of UV disinfection lamps in homes and in all regions, which presented with eye injuries in that era. The other second target population is elderly, in which the cause usually seen was solar eclipse gazing and religious sun gazing. The other but rare causes in this modern era are the recreational lights, laser lights in parties, and advanced cosmetics which are used like laser hair removal devices and UV nail dryer devices. And coming to the mechanism of injury, as already explained, it is by photochemical, photothermal, and photodisruption mechanism. And the injury and extent depends based on the wavelength of the energy, radiation power, exposure time, and the spot size. All the laser devices should fit into this criteria, and there are few guidelines set by FDA, and all the laser devices fit in one of these 5 categories. That is starting from class 1 to class 4 in increasing order of the danger amongst them. Class 1, 2, and 3A include the laser printers, CD drivers, barcode scanners, and laser pointers and toys, where the continuous wave is less than 5 millivolts and the injury extent is less, and only injury can occur when mishandled or stared at the beam or if any faulty devices. Class B, 3B, and 4 considers all the laser light shows and high energy devices of industries and research labs, also the military weapons, where even a direct view for a fraction of a second or only the reflected beam also can cause hazardous injury to human eye. Laser pointers and all the toys comes in class 2 or class 3A. Starting with the injury to the eye, UV rays and microwaves mainly target the cornea and lens, as these two tissues absorb most of such energy. And the lasers which come in the particular wavelength of in laser toys and pointers pass uninterrupted in cornea and lens and usually get focused on the retina and causes significant damage to retinal layers. Usually the patient presents within 1 to 4 hours of exposure to such devices, and the presentation can be in the form of central or paracentral scotoma, in form of metamorphopsia, blurring of vision in cases of corneal injury or cataract induction. When cornea is involved, patient can also present with photokeratitis in the form of photophobia and redness and irritation. Starting with the evaluation, as I mentioned, history becomes very prominent in such cases, as in many cases, direct history from the patient is not sought, and digging in only gets us to the diagnosis and the cause. Like the source of injury, the kind of laser involved, and its energy and all the safety guidelines. And also the next comes the symptoms, onset and type of symptoms encountered by the patient. In the investigation modules, the non-invasive tools which help us in diagnosis are the Amsler grid. Then SDOCT is considered as the investigation of choice, which helps in getting the exact location and site of damage. Also with that, the next comes is fundus autofluorescence, where with its principle of concentrating on lipofuscin, the damage due to laser can be seen as hypofluorescence surrounded by a relative hyperfluorescence of normal area. Also, the microperitory can aid in the functional condition of the retinal and the injury occurred. I want to mention few cases. There was a study which encountered a few macular hole cases which was followed after the accidental laser injury by the laser pointers. This is a case where it was a very past history that a 21-year-old presented with scotoma in his dominant eye, and after digging in, it was got to know that there was an accidental laser injury to his eye. There was a large macular hole, and it was already 8 months of his history. Patient had to undergo vitrectomy and macular hole surgery, but still there was suboptimal improvement in his vision. Another case which was presented with similar laser injury, there was a small hole and it was a very short duration of history. Patient was observed with steroids and topical steroids and just observation. In just 2 months, there was a spontaneous closure of the hole, and patient came up with a good vision improvement. The most common cause is the laser pointer injuries, and there is a case report which showed history of scotoma in the patient and accidental laser pointer injury, where the fundus showed yellow pigmentation and altered pigmentation. The corresponding OCT showed intraretinal layer damage with edema. Patient was treated with steroids and patient recovered well. In the same manner, there was 2 cases where the history was not very significant. A child presented after 10 years with CNVM and hemorrhage, but after digging in, it was history that there was severe use of laser toys in the childhood. And one more case was accidental laser injury in the party, when just a reflected beam also had caused injury. Also, solar eclipse has seen injuries in also children, and also observational studies showed that most of the injuries are seen unilateral in 6th decade patients, and males were the most commonly encountered. As I mentioned, in COVID era, many patients presented with photokeratitis, but all were treated well with and resolved well with topical lubricants and low-dose steroids. Starting with the precautions, only the guidelines should be the proper seeing of guidelines is the mainstay. Children should be kept away from such devices, and proper faulty devices should be seen. My key message is such injuries are always to be dug in with the history, and always prevention is the key for such injuries. Thank you.
Good coverage and well beginning through the international debut.